Welcome to Dale's Dominion podcast, where we discuss Virginia real estate and beyond. Here's your host, Dale Shoop.
Welcome to Dale's Dominion, Virginia real estate and beyond, where we dive deep into the world of real estate and title insurance. And if we have time, we might talk about money and motivation, cars and coffee, or maybe even burgers and bourbon. I'm your host, Dale Shoop. Today, we sit down with Eric Hash. He's the CEO of the Harrisonburg-Rockingham Association of Realtors, and I'm excited to talk to him about the work he does for the real estate community, especially his time advocating for our industry on Capitol Hill 2 weeks ago. Welcome, Eric, to the show.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Dale. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. So I recently learned you grew up in the suburbs of Indianapolis and spent a lot of your childhood playing sports, with soccer being a major influence. So talk about how those early experiences in sports shaped your values and your work ethic today.
Yeah, it's something that I really believe deeply in. It's one of the reasons why I spend so much time coaching now. Going through college, master's, all the formal education I've done, I often come back to say the most important lessons I learned were on the field. The things of teamwork and overcoming adversity and accomplishing things with people you may or may not like, or common goals. There's just so many factors of things that I've learned on the field that come a part of my everyday life that it really was invaluable lessons that I, at this point trying to instill in the kids that I coach and also my sons.
Excellent. Yeah. And you've been married for 19 years. You have 2 teenage sons. So how do you balance the demands of career and family life? And then are there lessons that you learned in your professional journey that you're trying to pass on to your children?
Yeah, so we stay extremely busy, and that's the way we like it. Both boys are involved in soccer at a very high level, and that's their main kind of interest. Now, I will say my younger of the two has a pretty strong interest in politics and enjoys the times when we go and do our Hill visits and things like that. He gets to tag along, has developed relationships with our representatives here locally and some senators throughout the state. He's hoping to get into the PAGE program next year. So he has a kind of an outside hobby there, interest that, someday he may be our representative. We don't know, but I think that, overall the kind of the motto I've always gone with is find what you like to do and be so good at it that someone will pay you to do it. That's kind of been my motto for things. And so, my journey into getting into what I do now is not a straight path by any means. And most people that I talk to is very similar. But, you just find those things that you enjoy and eventually it comes together. And, that's what I hope for my sons as well, that they're able to kind of follow that path and really enjoy what they do and become so good at it, someone will pay them to do it.
Awesome. And you've been in the Realtors Association world for 4.5 years now?
Yeah, roughly right around there.
Okay. So what initially drew you into that field and what's been the most rewarding aspect of your work so far?
So what drew me into the field initially was ignorance and interest.
Yeah.
I saw a job posting. It was time for me to pursue a new job at the time. I was living in Danville, Virginia, and I applied. I had some organizational leadership experience, some different educations and training and things like that. And I said, let's find out what this is. I was fortunate to get hired, really enjoyed the work. And a couple of years after doing that, decided to take the job here and move into this position. And so it's, I think one of the things that I love about what I do is that housing affects everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the few things where I can enter into a room and go, what I do impacts everyone in this room in some capacity. And every day is different. Every day is something new. And I love that about it. I love the impact that, like I said, it touches everyone. And it's a really exciting industry to be a part of.
Yeah, it really is. So 4.5 years ago, though, that was just before the world shut down with COVID. So what was that like, starting a new career?
Well, so one of the somewhat fortunate things, I guess you could say, about that was it put me on equal footing of everyone else. No one else knew what they were doing.
Right. Yeah.
All my peers, they going, well, we've never done this before. How do we do this? How do we pivot? How do we
Right.
shift? Are we going to
Yeah.
have jobs? Is this still going to, is this industry going to be shut down for months upon months? Is it going to be deemed essential? All those type of things. So I guess one benefit was I was on equal ground with everyone.
Right.
The other thing was things really did slow down for a brief period. I know that's hard to imagine if you've been with us for the last few years.
Yeah.
Looking back, the pandemic time, people were thinking of the craziest selling and shifting time of the near future. But there was a 3-4 week period where things shut down, and I really just slammed that time full of education. Um,
Right.
just understanding the industry, getting classes in, moving towards different designations, certifications, and just really use that time to try to accelerate my growth that I wouldn't normally have had by being able to spend that time and the uncertainty of really doing things that would have taken me much longer to do education wise.
Sure. It sounds like a smart play. What are some of the other challenges you faced as CEO of the Realtors Association? How have you addressed them? How do you drive innovation and support for your members?
Yeah, so the pros and cons of coming into the role that I did. One of the challenges has been that I had to fill extremely big shoes.
Yeah,
Um, Bob Hill was a legend in our industry. He was known by everyone, respected by everyone.
definitely.
So that's a big role to step into. At the same time, that was one of the motivating factors for me was I knew that I'd be stepping into a good situation.
Right.
So that's why I kind of refer to that as the pros and cons. It was a safe landing, easy spot, but it's big responsibility, big shoes to fill. And so, as we're coming out of the pandemic and as we were identifying things, we've really made some pushes towards getting people together, really building upon
Mhm.
networks. We believe if you can build rapport with one another and learn to like and respect one another, that it just makes transactions easier. It helps to give the benefit of the doubt when you know the person on the other side and all those type of things. So we've really made an emphasis on getting our members together, also really opening doors for the affiliate members to do similar things.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot more FaceTime with our membership at different type of events where they can connect and build contacts and things like that. So I think over the last couple of years since I've been here, those have been the primary things we've really worked on, of just building that network rapport, knowing each other type facet of this industry.
Yeah, and as an affiliate, I've noticed I can see it. It's been pretty amazing to see the way you all have incorporated and tried to get folks together and get us face to face and opportunities to talk and share ideas and get to know each other. And I think that's been brilliant. Yeah. Another thing I'm grateful for, as a board member for Habitat for Humanity, I know that your association has shown a lot of support, both financial support and volunteer support, and so we're really grateful for that as well. Um, are there other ways you all are involved in the local community? Are there initiatives you all are particularly proud of?
Yeah, so I mean, for the large part, Habitat has been one of our primary means that we've kind of focused our attention on. Uh, Locally, we're also heavily involved in different aspects of affordable housing,
Hmm.
different aspects of how we can move that forward, opportunities that come with that. How can we make housing opportunity more vast?
Yeah,
And so we're involved in a lot of those conversations. I'm on a few different coalitions groups that are getting together, putting together ideas of how we can advance this further. It's been really interesting to see how this conversation, I talk about how housing touches everyone. Well,
yeah,
when you talk about affordable housing, the conversations I'm with are from industry, the Chamber of Commerce. Businesses are seeing that this is a real issue that's impacting them because they can't find housing for their employees and things
right.
like that. So the conversation is becoming more and more of a all hands on deck as opposed to leave it to the specialist or a small segment's concerned with it. It's impacting nearly everyone. And so we've been involved in those conversations. We're, at Christmas time, we're ringing the bells and shaking the buckets for Salvation Army and
Yeah.
those type of things. So we tried our best to kind of keep a pulse on the community and find those opportunities to make an impact.
Well, yeah, it's awesome. Thank you. So let's shift gears a little bit back to Advocacy Day. During your time on Capitol Hill a couple of weeks ago, you had the opportunity to meet with Congressman Ben Klein, and I saw the picture his team posted on Facebook. And I have to say, I love those bright blue shoes. Did you know they were going to show up in the photo?
I wasn't sure if that was going to happen, but I always want to be prepared. That's kind of become my, I guess, signature thing that I'm known for around the state circles and things that I go to. I always have a pretty decent shoe collection that always coordinates with my apparel, and that just happened to be I go with the Realtor blue, and so I had to pull out the blue and black dunks, and it made the photo and really kind of set the photo off. It was kind of nice.
It really did. So, can you share some of your insights from your discussions, particularly about the potential legislation to aid housing inventory shortage?
Yeah, so our conversations kind of focus on two things. The first thing being one of the big challenges we have is just a lack of inventory. What can we do to change that? We recognize that building is part of the solution, but it's not the only part of the solution. We're not going to just build ourselves out of this problem. And so we were talking about a couple of legislative initiatives that NAR is working with to provide tax incentives for those who to kind of help push people towards putting their house on the market and opening up inventory, at any level. Though we talk a lot about affordable housing and those entry level housing opportunities, it's impacted across the board by a lack of inventory. So as people look to migrate up the chain, there's missing links all along. And so if that entry level starter home may not be available because the family that's in that isn't able to make their next step to the next house because it's not available. And so providing additional tax incentives to encourage people to get their house on the market can hopefully help that migration process and start the chain back to where we're getting more and more movement in there. So that's a couple of the things, bills related to that, of incentivizing people putting their house on the market for primary residencies.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And another significant point were the limitations on VA mortgages and potential changes, or maybe those have already gone into effect for a veteran's ability to use their VA loans. What are you hearing there?
Yeah, one of the I would imagine it would be an unintended outcome, unintended consequence of the lawsuits and settlements that have happened recently in our industry, was if it became an issue where a buyer had to pay the compensation of their representative, if it was a VA a person using a VA loan, they wouldn't be able to pay compensation outside of anything in the agreement. And so that was a challenge for those that would be using VA loans, something that we fought hard for. Of veterans deserve this. They've done what they were required to do. We've promised that when you do this, when you finish your service, you'll be able to apply for these loans. And now there's an issue where they may not be able to use them. And so we talked with the congressman and got that conversation going. In addition to the small group that I was with, it was happening over and over again in many offices throughout the week that we were up there in DC. And as of yesterday, the VA came out and said they're going to be temporarily looking at temporarily rescinding those restrictions, and so it would open the door for veterans to be able to use those benefits that they've earned. And it was, you very, very rarely go and lobby over an issue and within 2 weeks you have results. So it was it was a strong statement for our industry, the power that we as a lobbying body do have, that we can come down onto the Hill and actually see things change and make a difference. So it was a pretty exciting thing for us to have kind of some results already moving from our work in DC.
Yeah, it sounds like a big win. So going forward, what are your priorities for advocacy for our industry? Any thoughts on driving change at the local or national level?
Well, locally, they're the city's going through zoning, looking at those. I think there are some zoning opportunities that could help with housing inventory and things like that. So we'll be involved in kind of examining that, looking at opportunities to open some different types and different ways to pursue this problem of housing inventory. And so we'll be involved in that. And then, here this summer, we'll begin the process for stating our legislative agenda with Virginia Realtors. I've been on that public policy committee for the last couple of years, and so we'll be working on that late in the summer and start rolling that out here as we begin to identify the new issues that we'll be looking to work with in 25.
Awesome. Sounds like you got some long-term vision going too. That's great. So best advice for anyone considering a career like yours in advocacy or a career in real estate? What are you really glad you did, or what do you wish you may have done differently?
Shoot, the only thing I wish I would have done differently is figure this out sooner. But some of the key attributes, key elements of what I do is you have to have an ability to be flexible, to roll with punches. Things change all the time. I mean, the last couple of months we've been dealing with this lawsuit, and every 3 days it's an update of something a little bit different, a small tweak here, this is happening. So flexibility, a willingness and ableness to roll with the punches. In my role, the willingness to lead, the willingness to go first, the willingness to put yourself out there and be the one to take the first step is a huge thing that I've found has served me well. And I think that those type of things, when you put them together, and it's just a curiosity, that serves you well in almost anything. A curiosity to learn and to know and to see new perspectives.
Yeah, that's great. You can definitely see that in the way you work and interact with people. So I'm happy to learn you're a bourbon guy too. So what's your favorite pour these days?
Yeah. So, fortunately there was just an allocation kind of dropped this past weekend. And so some new stuff has kind of come out, and, friends have been texting pictures and things like that, what they've got. So, the one of the stuff that is not all that rare, but is still allocated difficult. I really like the McKenna 10-year bottled in bond. That's one of my go-tos I really, really like. So I try to always keep one of those in the holster. So I just opened the last bottle that I have. So I'll have to hold on to that a bit so I can get another one behind it. The everyday can always find on the shelf, go at any time and find. I'm a Knob Creek guy.
Yeah, that's a good one. Mm-hmm. So you've been here in town a while, and what's the best local place to grab a beer?
So I got two. It kind of depends on how much time I have, how much I'm willing to drive.
Right.
So my number one is Elkton Brewing.
Yes.
Elkton Brewery is my favorite, but it's a little ways out there as I, live, near just outside of city limits. And so it's a little bit of a drive, but if I got the time and, maybe my buddy Spencer Winger's playing or something like that, we might go out that way. Locally here in the city, I tend to lean towards Brothers. That's been my go-to, those two options.
Okay. And I always ask everybody, best burger in town?
It's hard to beat Jack Brown's. They've got so many good options. I never get tired of them. Every time I have one, I think that's going to be the one I always get. And the next time I go, I get something else because they're all just so good. So it's tough to beat that option.
Absolutely. Hey, man, well, this has been fun. And I appreciate your time and your insight on things. And we'll sign off here and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing to get the word out about what we're doing in the industry. Your interest and willingness to step into these roles and be an advocate for us as well, and real great partner to the association. Your involvement, we really do appreciate that.
Thanks. Yeah, super happy to be there. Thank you.